Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. I am so happy to be back with you guys this morning after a brief pause on the heels of our masterclass a couple weeks ago. As you tune in, either here live or on the replay, just say hi in the comments. Let me know that you're here. I do always like to chat with you guys during the broadcast or after, especially if you have any comments or questions. So, today we are going to be talking about one quick way to curb hunger cravings without dieting or deprivation. I am super excited to share this information with you, and I hope that you will all find it useful. So, what we are going to be talking about today is hydration, water. Now, I know, don't click off, it's okay. This is not the same guidance that you have heard many times in the past. Oh, just drink a cup of water before each meal and then you'll eat less. Those comments are misguided for a number of reasons. The concept there, excuse me for a minute, the concept there, I think what people mean when they say that, well intended, is if you just put volume in your stomach before you put food in your stomach, then you'll eat less. So that's not what I mean by hydration and water. So let me explain the various roles that water has in your body, like how it helps your overall body function, which in turn will result in a reduction of hunger cravings. So first of all, that guidance, oh, just drink like a full cup of 8 ounces of water right before you eat. If you do that, you will actually disrupt your digestive processes in a various and sundry ways. If you've listened to previous live lessons with me, you've learned a little bit about digestion. One of the key factors of healthy and strong and functioning digestion is the proper levels of acidity in your stomach, right? On a pH scale of 0 to 9, with 0 being pure acid and 9 being pure alkaline, your stomach, when it's ready to digest whatever you've just eaten, needs to be at like a 1.5 to a 3, right? So if you drink 8 ounces of water before you eat, like immediately before you eat, you're essentially going to dilute all of that healthy stomach acid, and your body is going to have a much harder time digesting anything that you put in your mouth. So tip number 1, please do not drink a full glass of 8 ounces of water before you eat, immediately before you eat. If you can, try to avoid drinking anything at all while you're eating, just from a digestion perspective. But that's not the topic for today. So let's talk about the various roles that water, pure water, has in your body. Hi, Benita. Good to see you here. So water, we all know 90%, 80, 90% of our bodies are liquid, right? They're full of water. But what you might not know is what all that water does on a day-to-day basis at a cellular level. So one key factor, just sort of carrying through with the digestion comments, is water is it is the vehicle by which all the nutrients are dispersed excuse me, throughout your body from your small intestine when they're absorbed into your bloodstream. Obviously, blood, plasma, is liquid, right? You need to have appropriate hydration levels in your body to keep your blood at a good consistency, right? So it doesn't get like sluggish goo, because that can happen if you're dehydrated over time. So drinking enough water will keep your blood at a nice, pure liquid consistency. It can move throughout your body more effectively, and therefore the nutrients that you're taking up from your small intestine after you eat healthy, whole food are more effectively distributed throughout your body. If your body is well nourished by the water you drink and the food you eat, you will naturally have less cravings because you're giving your body right out of the gate what it needs in the first place. Secondly, We all know hydration, water, does help regulate your body temperature. That's a commonly known thing and a common experience we've all had from overheating or even being cold. On either extreme, if you drink some water, you will help your body sort of slow down and regulate your own internal body temperature more effectively, which will cause you over time to sweat less, which will result in ultimately retention of more hydration in your body. It will also affect your blood pressure because the harder your body has to work at cooling yourself down or just functioning in general, the higher your blood pressure will go. And the higher your blood pressure is, the more challenging it will be for you to get a deep and nourishing night's sleep. And if you are in a sleep deprived state, we've all had this experience, right, ladies, where we don't get a good sleep and then we wake up the next morning and it is so hard to maintain your focus on healthy foods when you're sleep deprived. That seems to be when the cinnamon buns and the ice cream and the burgers with fries from McDonald's seem to be screaming the loudest, right? Is when we are sleep deprived. It's because your body is really starving for nutrients and starving for the real restorative sleep that you just unfortunately deprived it of. And so it's just having a real hard time functioning overall. So hydration is very important to body temperature and nutrient uptake. The other thing, and this is probably, in my opinion, one of the more critical pieces of information, is at a cellular level, fundamentally, we are electrical beings, right? If you think about it, how do messages from the brain and all the various systems of the body, how do they work? Well, they work from basically electrical currents that your brain sends out all these electrical signals to the rest of your body, instructing all the systems and cells and muscles what to do, right? And in turn, those systems and muscles and cells send signals back to the brain saying, okay, mission accomplished, or, help, danger, we're not functioning right here. So water conducts electricity. If you are properly hydrated, then your cells, brain cells, systems, everything will have an easier time communicating. And that is critical for proper bodily function, but also for managing the signals and for your body's understanding of the signals that your brain is trying to say from a hunger craving or just a general craving perspective. I spent some time in the military some years ago, and that was kind of one of the first points of origin, the beginnings of my passion for fitness and nutrition. And I had a sergeant at the time describe it to me this way. He said, your body really knows only how to say one thing. It only knows how to tell you that it needs one thing. And this is what it says. Like put something in your mouth. That's all it's, I need something, consume something, right? So if you are dehydrated, what this means, it can mean water or food, right? And if the electrical signals from your brain and your body are impaired because you're not hydrated properly, that signal is going to get sort of confused, and you might have a challenging time determining what it is exactly that your body needs, food or water. So my suggestion on that point to you is every time you feel your body go, drink some water first. Wait 30 minutes. If you still have that sensation that you need to consume something, then go ahead and start to eat a healthy, nutrient-dense meal. Because a lot of times when our bodies are screaming at us that they need something and it feels like a hunger craving, it's really not. It is a thirst craving that may just be a little disguised as hunger because we're dehydrated. So bear that in mind as you go forward. So there's a great many other things that your body, that water does for your body, but those are the three big ones that I wanted to hit on for this morning. So a natural question you might have would be, okay, well, how do I know, oops, how do I know, sorry, I just fiddled with my screen and it took the video away. How do I know that I'm dehydrated? Like, I don't even know if I have the right hydration levels, right? What are some signs? What are some ways that I can tell that I might need more water uptake? Well, so I'll talk to you about two different signs. Early signs, and those can be cravings, like cravings that it doesn't seem to matter how much or what you eat, the cravings are still kind of always there. So just general cravings can be a sign, an early warning sign, let's call it, of dehydration. Generalized anxiety, sort of like low-level anxiety, can also be a sign of low-level early stages of dehydration for the same reason we just went over, because the brain and the body have a real challenging time communicating when you are dehydrated. So if you look back or listen back through the videos about mindset, we talked about the connection between your brain and your gut and your brain and the rest of your body down the vagus nerve, right? So if that electrical current is impaired, you're going to have a hard time convincing your brain that it's safe and that it's well nourished and it's safe and there's no lion about to gobble you up. And so your brain may experience like low level stress factors going on a persistent basis that are going to manifest in you as low grade anxiety or maybe significant anxiety, but anxiety has other sources based in poor nutrition. But for right now, like a somewhat persistent state of anxiety could be a result of dehydration over time. The other ones we kind of all know, right? Dark colored urine, maybe some muscle cramps throughout your body, headaches, fatigue, thirst, dry mouth. All of those are common signs that most of you are likely familiar with for dehydration. Now, let's talk about what I will call chronic signs of dehydration. So, meaning you are in a chronic state of, a consistent state of more than a little dehydration. One of the things that, well, actually there's three I'd like to talk to you about that may be a little surprising. The first one is heartburn. If you have persistent reflux or heartburn, that could also be a result of chronic dehydration. Hydration is fundamental to the digestive process. Your entire intestinal tract requires proper hydration in order to separate out the nutrients from the waste and in order to push the waste out of your system, out the back door. Which brings me to symptom number 2 of chronic dehydration, and that is constipation. You must have proper hydration levels throughout your body in order for waste to be A, identified like we just discussed, and B, properly expelled out the back door. In your intestinal tract, largely in your colon, that is where 95% of the water from your food sources are actually uptake back into your body and then passed downstream with the waste. So if you don't have proper hydration, essentially the waste is going to get stuck in your colon, and so you will have chronic constipation. That is how that works. The last sign of chronic constipation, sorry, it's a little warm in my house. The last sign of chronic constipation is actually overall joint pain. So if you feel largely inflamed all the time, there are other sources of generalized inflammation throughout the body, but with respect to your joints, fluid hydration is critical for essentially protecting all your joints and ligaments. They need a nice, good fluid level in order to maintain the cushion so that when you actually, walk or type or write or whatever it is you're doing, you don't have a lot of impact. There needs to be that fluid barrier, let's call it, there to prevent your joints from banging against each other. And proper hydration levels are a critical part of that. So generalized inflammation, we'll talk about that in more detail at a later time, but just keep in your brain that dehydration is chronic dehydration can be a contributing factor to chronic joint pain, arthritis, things like that. If you can get your hydration levels on track, you may experience some relief to generalized inflammation and joint pain. So let's talk for a minute about the various sources of drinking water. The first one, tap water, just right out of the sink. I would encourage you, for the most part these days, to avoid drinking tap water. There's a bunch of resources that you can look into. One of them is the Environmental Working Group, EWG. They have a website, and you can find via that website essentially like a tap water database where you can look up where you are and the quality of tap water where you live, if it exists in the database. You may be shocked to find that there are numerous contaminants and sometimes poisons just sort of present in our tap water because sometimes the city or the county adds it to the tap water, like fluoride. Consuming fluoride in your water is really not healthy. Putting it on your teeth for dental hygiene purposes is another matter, but you don't really want to drink fluoride. It can be toxic. Other things you'd be surprised to find in your tap water these days are caffeine and Tylenol and arsenic in the way of poisons. Like just so many chemicals leach into the water supplies from how we farm, from how construction project works, from all these other sources. It leaches into the soil leaches into the water, and most of the time, if there is any filtration system, it's not sufficient to remove these kinds of toxins from your tap water. So I would strongly encourage you, if you do not have like a good carbon filter on your refrigerator or on your house, to at least get some kind of high quality filter that you can just screw right on to your faucet if tap water is the only water available to you. A slight upgrade from tap water would be well water if you have access to that, but you will also need to have somebody evaluate the quality, the nutrient profile of your well water for the same reasons that I just described about how the soil leaches into the water. So just have that done. Well water is generally going to be a little bit more pure than tap water, but sometimes not by much. So your minds may have then naturally gone to bottled water. Yes, there are various healthy sources of bottled water. However, I would encourage you to never drink out of a plastic bottle that has been exposed to heat over time. Whether it's sitting in your car or it's been exposed to heat in transport, I would just really caution against drinking out of plastic water bottles because you don't know what heat they've been exposed to before they arrive at your grocery store, and then they may have accidentally been exposed to heat in your home or your vehicle. So a plastic water bottle, doesn't matter if it's BPA free or not, will leach at a minimum estrogen into your water, and at a maximum a bunch of other similar toxins that we've discussed. You don't want to consume those things, particularly us women, particularly as we age. We do not want to consume external sources of estrogen. Problematic for so many different reasons. I would encourage you, if you're going to drink bottled water of some kind, please purchase it in glass. The glass bottled water, preferably like the The Perrier's got that dark green, so it's really gonna protect against any kind of heat damage from your water. Spring water is likely always going to be your best source if you can find natural spring water. There is a website, findaspring.com, where you could take your own glass containers and go to the spring and bottle it yourself. If you have access to natural spring water yourself, that is by far an excellent thing to do. If you do not, glass water bottles. Carbonated water is also, some of it occurs naturally, or some of it is the sparkling mineral water. Make sure that it's actually real mineral water and not just carbonated water. Check the label to make sure that you have some trace minerals there, which leads me to, not just yet, one more point. So to recap briefly, the best sources of pure drinking water directly from the natural spring, from a glass water bottle with or without added minerals, or from your tap or from your refrigerator, provided that you use a good, strong carbon filter system. So, when should we drink this water, you might ask? You told us not to drink it immediately before we eat. That is true because of the dilution of stomach acid. So, drinking a glass of water when you first wake up in the morning will properly rehydrate you from the overnight fast where we all become slightly dehydrated. Certainly before and after exercise where you have sweated out the water through your skin. About half an hour before you eat. So by at least half an hour, if you really focus on upping your water consumption 30 minutes or longer before you eat, that will put good hydration levels into your intestinal tract for nutrient absorption that we talked about a second ago. You can also add, if you don't like the taste of water, you can add some lemons and limes to it. That's fine. They make, those things that put the carbonation into the water that you have, like you can put, it's like a countertop device these days. It's like a soda station, I think, but you can use it for your water if you prefer the fizzy of the water, which I personally do. And if you need to drink something while you're eating, get some sparkling mineral water and just sip on it just to keep your mouth wet if that's a need that you have. That's what I do. I actually have these smaller, like tiny 6-ounce cans, I think, of Perrier water that I drink, I sip on while I'm eating, and that is legitimate mineral water as well. So you might be asking, why do you keep talking about minerals? Well, minerals, proper mineral levels in your body, these minerals actually convert into what we call electrolytes. So we're going to, broad strokes wise, we're talking about calcium, magnesium, and potassium, and sodium. Those are the four: calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium. Those are the four electrolyte producing minerals, and that's what you should be looking for in any mineral water that you consume, because these minerals essentially convert to electrolytes, which the definition of an electrolyte is minerals that become capable of conducting electricity when dissolved in water. So, back to the beginning of our conversation, we are electrical beings. We need to have these minerals present and proper hydration levels present in our bodies so that that electrical cellular communication can happen correctly, so that we can understand the signals that our body is giving us when it says, ah, and we can know, is that, oh, I need more hydration, or, oh, it's actually time to eat nutrient-dense whole food. So that is what that is about. If you have a reverse osmosis water filtration system on your home, or if you just don't know if your water has the proper electrolyte composition, the proper mineral composition to to help with this overall cellular hydration. There's a few external sources that you can add to your drinking water that will help. I would strongly encourage you not to drink the like sports drinks, the off the counter, off the shelf, like Gatorade or whatever the other ones are out there. Propel is the only one I will give a slight pass to, just because it's made with sucralose and not a bunch of harmful chemicals and sucralose. Some people have a blood sugar spike reaction to sucralose. Some people don't. So Propel gets a slight pass in my book. But the rest of them, Gatorade, Powerade, all those sports drinks, that's not the kind of hydration you need. You're going to consume a lot of added sugar and you're going to consume a lot of added chemicals because it's a man-made, processed and packaged product. So we want to avoid those types of things just on a general rule. So if you would like to add some trace minerals, which will convert into electrolytes to your drinking water, one of the best sources is going to be raw Himalayan salt, pink Himalayan salt. You can just, add a shake or two or a grind or two to any kind of water that you're drinking, like this glass that I have here. I just shake, and then fill it up. It does not taste like you're drinking the ocean. It doesn't. It will change the flavor a little bit, but it's also going to give you pink Himalayan salt. Another form of it, if you want a brand name, is Redmond Real Salt. Those are two great sources for adding trace minerals into your water and getting those electrolytes under control. And we've all experienced what it feels like. If you have a headache, if you're a little sluggish, if you're a little run down, and then in previous forms of yourself, you drank some Gatorade or some Powerade or some, what's that stuff we give children? Pedialyte for kids, right? All that's doing is putting electrolytes and a bunch of chemicals, but it's rebalancing your electrolytes. So the pink Himalayan salt or the Redmond Real Salt does the same thing without all the sugar or added chemicals. So just keep that in mind for your consumption purposes to try to help with that electrolyte balancing. And on that note, I want to talk just briefly about carbonated soft drinks. These do not count as proper sources of hydration, and they are some of the worst offenders as far as chemical additives. I mean, we've all seen an uncle, a dad, a granddad take a bottle of Coke and pour it on the car engine to clean off all the rust and grime, right? Why would we want to put that into our body? If it can clean a car engine, probably not wise to pour it down your throat. Oftentimes, soda has high fructose corn syrup and some other kind of refined sugar that will cause all kinds of havoc on your bodily functions. And even in the diet versions, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, Diet insert name here, most of the time the sweetener that they use there is aspartame. It used to be called Equal, right? We used to have those blue packets on the table in a restaurant. Notice that you don't see those too much anymore. Well, that is because aspartame is highly toxic. Essentially, you can Google some studies. I'm just looking at a couple notes I made. Just Google harmful effects of aspartame. You will see that there are 92 different documented adverse side effects to aspartame, Equal. So when you consume aspartame, it eventually turns into formaldehyde in your body. So low-level amounts of formaldehyde are sometimes present in other things we consume, and your body has a mechanism for clearing those out, but the extent to which most people consume soft drinks far exceeds your body's ability to process and clear formaldehyde. So I just bear that in mind. You do not want to embalm yourself prematurely, and that's kind of what you're doing when you drink aspartame. So just bear that in mind. I think that is going to be a wrap for this morning, ladies. We are right at the 30-minute time frame. I have thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you guys about hydration and how that can help you curb your hunger cravings. By just general advice, if you are thinking, well, gee, Rebecca, how much water do I need to drink? About half your body weight in ounces of cleanly sourced drinking water. And if, like me, you also consume diuretics, you want to add, like this is what, 10 or 12 ounces. So if I'm consuming 75 ounces of clean, whole, naturally sourced or well-sourced water every day, and I drink 1 or 4 of these, I'm going to need to add that many ounces on top of the normal consumption levels. So if I drink 2 of these, let's say that's 30 ounces, I'll just need to add that to 75, which is 105 ounces of pure water every day. So with that in mind, I am going to say goodbye for this morning. Drop in the comments if you have any questions. Hit me up directly in my inbox if you have any questions, and I will look forward to seeing all of you right back here again next week as we continue our live lessons with Rebecca. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.